Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of UVU Yoga. Today's focus is going to be about balance. I was waiting for that. I get that reaction a lot when I teach. But the pose in particular that we're going to focus on is tree pose. How, hey, now, how can you not? It's the holidays and everything smells like balsam. I love it.
Yeah.
So that, and honestly, balance too. I feel like the world is pretty unsteady, and kind of practicing our balance is something we should always be doing. So that is our focus for today.
Yes.
So I do get that reaction a lot with balance poses. Your your sound was particularly honest this morning.
Yeah.
Do you have struggles with balance poses?
Balance poses are my nemesis, simply because I don't have a strong foundation in my feet and I have limited strength with my leg muscles. So to try to achieve a pose like tree in full form creates a lot of frustration and anxiety, and it just kind of triggers for me like all the things that don't work in my body. But at the same time, because it's such a challenge, it's good for me too, because it leaves me like, it gives me a goal, and this is a pose that I want to strive to achieving to the best of my ability.
And I like balance poses because I feel like they remind us to be playful.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you're right,
Yeah.
mentally you are dealing with a lot in a balanced pose. But I encourage some kind of play there. And it's a lot easier when we're kids because we fall and it's cool. We get right back up. But as we get older, we don't want to fall. We don't want to feel embarrassed or feel like we're not capable. So I always try to invite some kind of play, some kind of like goofiness, because balance poses are very hard.
Oh, they are. They are.
So I know for balance poses, you need a little extra support, right? So I notice that you're wearing socks now. Is it true sometimes you wear shoes too?
I do have socks on today because I also want to keep my feet warm. But yes, actually, I do encourage you guys that if you're new to tree and you're a beginner and you're working through this pose and you feel like you want a little bit more stability by way of your feet, I'm giving you guys the green light to go ahead and wear, a stable sneaker, a stable shoe, something that's going to help bring the ground up for you and create that stability. Because when I'm home and I'm practicing tree all by myself, I will put my shoes on, because for me it helps bridge that gap between my not having great alignment in my feet, gives me a little bit more stability, and I feel like I can really ground down. So I'm just going to invite you guys to kind of think outside of the box, and it's okay to put your shoes on from time to time as you're working through these poses. This way, when you go into the studio or you're on your mat, maybe you'll have an easier time of things when it comes to you practicing this pose.
Yeah, and we also have an added challenge for our pose. So typically, when you're in a studio, they have hardwood floors, and I teach, and I've had teachers teach off your mat for balance, right? Get as close to the earth as possible.
Right.
So we have a very plush carpet, and we have our mats. So our balance is definitely going to be something that's tested today.
Yeah.
So do what you need to do to make balance work for you.
Yeah. And again, like Erin said, we encourage you guys to just have fun with this.
Okay. You ready to play?
Sure, let's
All
play.
right, let's do it. So we're just going to start by coming to the back of our mats. And before we get too fancy with any kind of balance, let's just start by standing. Standing is so easy, we do it all the time. But doing it mindfully, thoughtfully, may not be something that we do as often as we should. So I am going to invite you just to come into a standing pose, your mountain pose, all right? Making sure that the weight is balanced on both legs, both feet, okay? Spine is long, shoulders are back. Beautiful. And sometimes what I like to do is bring the hands to the hips because it makes me feel, reminds me to feel strong, right? Almost like Wonder Woman. So in this pose, sometimes I put my hands on my hips just to remind me of that strength, to kind of feel balanced on my two toes, which is how we travel through life, right?
Yeah.
All right. So just take a moment, okay? Close those eyes and feel connected. And if you took my advice and had those eyes closed, you're going to want to open them for this part. So this is where we're going to, I know that sounded kind of menacing, I suppose. So now we're going to play with that balance. Okay. And if you want to keep your hands on your hips, I say go for it, especially since it reminds you to keep your hip points square to the front of your mat. Okay. So we're going to play with that balance a little bit, and we're going to make the left leg our standing leg. Okay. Think about a flamingo standing on that one leg. All right. So begin to shift the weight to that standing leg and draw that right leg closer to your body. Okay, and then come up on the toes of the right foot. Okay. Already we're doing quite a bit of balance here. Okay. Make sure that you're not locking out that left knee. Make sure it has a little bit of a give to it. Then from here, you're still feeling very strong and balanced. You may want to open that right hip and begin to turn the right knee out, still staying on the toes of the right foot, and bring your foot just to rest against the lower part of the left leg. Whenever you feel like you're about to fall out, just before, bring the right knee forward and bring the right foot down. A little bit.
So that's
How'd that feel?
as far as my tree is going to go.
Okay.
Today.
Good.
On the mat.
And I have to tell you, I like that you said today, because I have noticed, and I know students have said the same. Some day balance is like, yeah, I'm right in there. And other days you're like blowing in the wind. All right.
Well, even for me to just lift this foot and actually shift my weight onto the left leg is creating enough of a workout for me mentally and physically.
Perfect.
So I'm just kind of accepting that that's where I'm at today.
Perfect. Now, in yoga, what we do on one side of the body, we want to do to the other. So we're going to take our tree pose to the other side, and we'll add a little bit more to it if your tree pose is maybe a little more advanced, or maybe today is a perfect day of balance for you. And you've got that kind of calm mind and you're staying with it. I'll offer some, challenges that you can kind of play. All right. So I always like to reset after I've done a balance pose on one side. So shaking out the knees, maybe tapping the feet a few times, and then just coming back to that standing pose. And again, you notice I went right into my Wonder Woman pose. I'm channeling her today. All right. But again, you want to have that.
Catwoman myself.
Okay. I can't fight that. I love my cats. All right. So the key is to come back to balance on both feet. Okay. Take a deep breath in here. And then exhale. Let it out. Good. All right. So from here, again, if you've closed your eyes, open them now. And what we're going to do now is shift the weight over to that right leg. That'll be our standing leg. Come up on the left toes just to begin. And again, we're taking this in steps. So you can always stop right where you kind of have met your tree pose for the day. All right, opening the left knee if you're coming with me, bringing the left foot just up against the lower right leg. Hips are square to the front of the mat. Good. From here, if you feel balanced, you can begin to lift the left leg just a bit higher up on the right leg. You can also lift the leg just above the right knee. That really looks like a flamingo, yeah? This is not my happy place, so I'm actually going to lower my foot down. And this is my tree for today. And if you fall out of it, just laugh at yourself and come right back into it. So a couple of things that can help with balance, right, is having a focus. So it's recommended that you look straight ahead, maybe at the wall in front of you, something that's not moving. Okay. You can also look down at the ground a few feet in front of your where your body is. So maybe at the top of your mat, but never, ever look at the yogi in front of you because they too are struggling with balance. And then if you want, you got this going, you can bring your hands to your heart. You can even grow your branches. You can even sway in the wind. And again, just before you think you're going to fall, retrace those steps. Bring the knee forward and down. What do you think? You got some dance moves, girl.
Yeah. Well, that was a beautiful tree.
Thank you. So I know that one of the best props, the one that is wherever I go, is the wall.
Oh, yeah.
So how can we use the wall to make a tree pose even more, a little more balanced as we're kind of growing with our tree?
Well, I would actually love to show you as well as our
Sure.
community how I often do tree using a wall. When I am in a yoga studio and we're doing this pose, I actually go right to the wall because I do want to do as much as I can in the pose. And I know that if I stay on my mat, I'm going to have very limited movement.
Sure.
So I'm going to show you guys how I'm able to challenge myself even more and build up that strength that is going to make me feel good moving through this pose.
Yeah, and it's also important to note too that this is a balance pose, but it's also a hip opener.
It
and
is.
what I like about what you're about to show us is that if you're balanced, if you feel safe in your balance, then you can actually make it more of a hip opener. You can actually move that hip back or the knee back a little bit. That's great.
Absolutely. Well, for me, stability is confidence. So you guys saw that when I was on my mat, you actually saw very limited movement, and it was just me kind of lifting that one foot up off of the ground. But because I have weak muscle strength in my glutes and in my hamstrings and my feet, that's about as far as I'm going to be able to take it without a little assistance.
Sure.
But now with using the wall, and this is just the way I use the wall, so I encourage you guys that need help from the wall to play around with it yourselves and find what's comfortable. A key here is to stay nice and straight through the spine, drawing the crown up toward the sky. So I just simply place my hand here, slight bend, just a little bit of stability. All right, so I'm standing here nice and straight in my mountain pose, still keeping in mind to ground down through the feet, lengthen through the spine, drawing my crown toward the ceiling. I feel really nice and straight here. So I feel like I have a strong foundation and I can begin to play. And now by just simply placing my hand on the wall, I don't feel like I'm going to fall. Mm-hmm. So I'm already going into this with way more confidence than when I was just standing on the mat.
That's important.
So I'm actually going to start on the same side using my left leg as my foundation. Now, because I'm leaning on the wall, I'm kind of giving myself a little bit more stability, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead and lift that foot. And because my right hand is holding me, I can actually bring this foot
Annie,
up
that's
higher.
fantastic. That's much higher than I've seen.
Much higher.
Yeah.
Much higher. But I also feel confident. I'm not going to fall, and I'm not just depending on my leg to hold me up. Okay, and I'm also, because I can press myself out, I'm keeping myself nice and aligned on this side instead of like buckling in. Exactly. And that's really important because no matter what we do, even if they're small movements, we want to make sure our alignment is right. Otherwise, we're not benefiting from the pose the way we should be.
Sure. So, Annie, can you show me that one more time or show us that pose one more time?
So I'm going to go ahead and bend my knee, lifting my foot up below my knee actually. And then I'm going to mentally think about myself drawing that knee out for that rotation with the thigh that we're looking for.
And are you going to lift your left hand up?
And then I'm going to go ahead and lift my arm. Ooh,
and sometimes all you need is a little extra hands.
I love it.
I love it too.
And
I've been wanting to do that the entire time.
and create that tree.
Mhm.
So here, actually, I can actually stand here
Mhm.
like this for quite some time, which feels really good because now that left leg is working.
Yep.
And she is working. She's starting to cry at me right now. But this feels really, really good. And I feel like I'm actually doing tree pose. And then you guys were able to see the difference. So, please use a wall. Please use whatever props you need to when you're working through this pose to make it look as pretty as you can possibly make it.
Mm-hmm.
With no regrets.
I was just going to say, and the key too is to go into it with the mindset of, I may fall. And I don't mean fall dramatically on the ground, but I might come out of the pose and tell yourself it's okay. The teachers do it. Kids do it, adults do it. But don't ever stop playing with that pose because balance really is very important. And when you have that sense of balance, you have that sense of calm. And the thing that I try to remind myself too is, like, why do I do yoga? I love yoga. But what I learn here on this mat of mine, the theory is I should take that out into the world. And so my Wonder Woman pose comes with me to work quite often. And these balance poses, I just feel a little unsettled these days. And so it reminds me that, like, what I practice here, balance today, I can and I should take out into the world, however that looks. So play, have fun, and find your balance.